Now, without any further delay, coming to tonight's session on business model innovation. Let me give an introduction to our very distinguished and eminent speaker of tonight, Mr. Puneet Gupta. Over a career spanning 18 years, including 8 years as an entrepreneur, Puneet has developed and launched several B2B and B2C products in global markets. He possesses a broad, well-rounded experience in general management, product management, design-driven problem solving, go-to-market, business development, and strategy. Puneet has 2 masters, one in business administration and the other in computer applications. He also holds a professional certification in design thinking from Hasso-Plattner Institute, Germany. On the personal front, Puneet is a sports enthusiast, loves traveling and learning about people and cultures. A very warm welcome to you, Puneet. We are absolutely thrilled to have you here with us tonight. Handing the session over to you now.
Thank you very much, Shema, for that wonderful introduction. And I hope I am audible.
Yes, very much.
And now probably I am visible as well.
Right. We can see you very well.
Thank you.
I've stopped sharing, so you can go ahead and share your screen.
That would be great. Let me just. Please let me know if you're able to see my screen.
Yes, we can, Puneet.
That's great. So, first of all, thank you, Shema and Institute of Product Leadership for giving me the opportunity to come and present my thoughts around one of the subjects which is very interesting and kind of, I feel passionate about, right? Business models. How do we make something profitable? How do we make money out of some of the great innovations that we do, right? And that is what I would be talking about. Before I start, a general disclaimer that I have, researched through the internet to collect and collate some of the content which I'm going to present in the deck. They know, I mean, though I have learned all along the way through my associations with various companies, but just want to make sure that these are my personal thoughts and in no way represent the views of my present or past employers, right? Second thing, this content has to be used for educational purposes. Don't put me in front of a jury that I use something without the permission of the author. Though I have tried to give credit to all the authors in the deck itself, where I collected the content from. And please do not circulate and share the deck without any explicit permission, right? Having said that, that is the just the kind of things that we need to keep in mind. And most important thing is these slides are not reflection of my powerful PowerPoint skills. I really can do better, right? But these were all collected and put together, keeping in mind the audience of this session. And my idea is to make it as interactive as possible. And I don't want to kind of talk big things, but want to make sure that each one of you is able to take out something as a takeaway from this session, right? Okay, Shama has already introduced me. Don't have much to add beyond what she has said. So currently I am working with SAP as Director of Product Management. In fact, I have been lucky in the way my career has shaped up, right? Starting my career way back in year 2000 as a software developer. The company that I was working with had to shut operations post 9/11. And that was the time when we came together and decided to try something on our own. And a company named Idea Farms was founded, right? I was the co-founder of the company. I still am the co-founder of the company. And I stayed with them for about 8 years, tried to scale it up, and then realized that I need to take a break and go back to school. And that is when I decided to go to Indian School of Business and do my MBA from there. Post that, I joined a startup again. And there my role was to figure out ways to commercialize a great technology platform, in fact, I would say, that this startup had created. They were struggling to monetize that, though they had invested a lot of money into building it. And that is what I tried to do. Then I joined SAP as entrepreneur in residence. Again, I was lucky to have the opportunity to work with a company of the size of SAP and drive some of the new innovations for a company which already has some 3,200 plus products in its portfolio, right? Uh, have built products in healthcare, fintech, in manufacturing using technologies like IoT, machine learning. Uh, but that's on the professional side. What I love doing is like I love sports. I played cricket all through my school and college years. I love traveling. I love learning about peoples and culture, and that's all about me, right? So now I have shared who I am, but I also want to know who the audience are. So, Shama, if you can share a couple of questions, basic questions that I have, just to know who the audience is, and so that I can, present the content in a
Sure,
manner that
Puneet,
it
we have
becomes
launched the
relevant for
first
you.
question.
Yeah, perfect. The first thing that I would like to know about you is what is your interest in the business model innovation, right? Are you a product manager? You aspire to be a product manager, or just curious on the topic, right? Oh, that's an interesting distribution that we are seeing over there. Wonderful. So I see that majority of the people who are attending the session aspire to be a product manager, and that's perfect, right? And we do have some product managers who probably would be aware of some of the things that I am going to talk about. And I also see a great level of curiosity on the topic. Shama, can you pose the second question?
Sure.
This is also important because product management is a very special and interesting area of work, right? Because you could be an engineer and you can become a product manager. You could be a designer, you can become a product manager. You could be coming from a business background like business analyst, a salesperson, business development person. You can still be a product manager, right? And even if you don't have degrees in any of these areas, still you can be a product manager. Whereas if you are an engineer, probably you will become a senior engineer, you will become an architect, you probably would end up leading a team or whatever, right? Depending on what career path you choose. One thing that I would like to highlight about product management is you can be anybody and still be a successful product manager. That's great. So we see that most of the folks here are from engineering background, and the second highest category of people is from the business background. That's perfect. Yes, thank you, Shama.
You're most welcome, Puneet.
Great. So, and you will know from the next slide why I posted those questions, right? Product management, interestingly, is not just about being able to create better technology. It is not just about being able to think about a market where there an opportunity, where lies an opportunity. It is not just about being able to think about what is needed in the market or what is desired in the market, right, by the customers. People would be there. Like I did an experiment, and in my team, I asked people, would it help you in your work if I give you an iPad? Right. And most of the people responded, yes, why not? Right. Are you going to charge me for it? No, of course. Give me iPad. I asked the same question in a different manner. Can I see a productivity increase of 20% if I give you the iPads? Right. Would you be able to give me more output of what you do on your daily basis? And the answer was no, iPad is not going to help me. That is not what I need to increase my productivity, but I need something else like better communication tools, better teams to manage, tools to manage my work, right? So it is us as product managers who has to always work at the intersection of technology, business, and our customers. What they say, we have to interpret that in a manner so that we can understand the difference between the requirement and the needs, right? What is the real job to that the our customers are wanting to done using our products, uh, and make sure the problems that we are solving are big enough and worthwhile to be solving those problems, right? We can make money out of that. Otherwise, like Eric Reyes has mentioned, who is the pioneer of lean startup movement, and I'm sure many of you would have heard about it. What is agile to the world of software development, lean startup is to the world of startups and innovation and the business. Building something, which nobody wants to pay for, is the ultimate form of waste, right? And that is what we as product managers have to keep in mind all the time, right? It could be very interesting, it could be very exciting to innovate on something groundbreaking, but if you are not able to figure out how to monetize that, uh, it is not going to make your organization successful, right? Having said that, right, let's start on a lighter note with some stories, right, which will give you the context of what we are going to talk about in this session. We are going to keep this session as interactive as possible. So if you have questions, please put them into the Q&A. We might not be able to address them immediately, but we'll try to answer them as much as possible towards the end of the session. Okay, you might have heard about a company named Xerox, right? At least the times that I come from, and nowadays I realized that I am from a different generation, from the generation that I see getting into the workforce, right? So there used to be a company called Xerox, and there used to be something called photocopy, right? And that is what Xerox was primarily known for. But what we don't know is Xerox had invented several other things. In fact, personal computing was invented by Xerox. Ethernet was invented by Xerox. But somehow they felt at that point in time that these are not the worthwhile innovation to, continue investing into. And they decided to focus on their core strength, which was the photocopy thing, right? And this is one machine that they had introduced sometime in 1959. And so they were trying to monetize it, right? And the price of this machine in 1959, imagine the value of 28,000 USD that we will have in present time. It was so expensive at that point in time, and they struggled to sell it. Later on, what they did was they tried to change the business model, and they came up with an idea of leasing out the machine instead of outright sale. And the leasing out model was, they used to charge their customers some $100 odd, which also included 2,000 copies that they can kind of, take out of the machine. The price was inclusive of that. And in case you have to take out more copies, then you had to pay some incremental cost, right? And that resulted in increase of revenue for Xerox from this particular model, from $30 million that they were making in 1959 to around $2.5 billion that they made in 1972 from this machine itself. Now that is the power of business model, right? There was no change in the technology. There was no engineering effort that went into it. There was no, technological intervention or innovation that happened. Just by changing the way the business was done, the way the value was captured by Xerox, they were able to multiply their revenues like anything, right? There are a few more examples, companies that we know about. We probably use these services. Blockbuster and Netflix, right? So Blockbuster was a leader. They had a DVD and VCD rental business. So they used to have a lot of physical stores all over the US. You can go there, pick up the DVD or the VCD of the movie that you want to see, bring it home, pay them a rental price, and you can watch it and return the VCD, right? So Netflix came in and they said, okay, instead of opening up all these physical stores, which is going to take a lot of money for Netflix to compete with Blockbuster, they started sending out or giving out these VCDs and DVDs over the internet, right? So that is how Netflix started. Netflix was not what we know Netflix of today, right? It was just uh, renting out DVDs and VCDs over internet, right? And Blockbuster went out of business over a period of time. Netflix didn't stop there. They again innovated on their business model. What they said was, with the emergence of internet, they realized that streaming is going to be the next big thing, right? Now they are disrupting the television industry. All these cable operators, right, who provide you multiple channels, they are disrupting that area as well, with by innovating again on their business model and the way they deliver the content, right? Another example, this is one of the favorites one, Kodak and Fujifilm. And why I tried to talk about this example, and why I like this is it showcases the fate of two companies which were almost having the same product and were equally successful at a given point in time. The technology was emerging, and one of these company decided to stick with their core strength and didn't try to pivot their business models into other areas, whereas the other company pivoted completely from the industry that was struggling, right? So Kodak and Fujifilms, I don't know again if you guys ever used the analog cameras that we used to have before the digital revolution happened. We used to have a camera and it used to have a film roll, which normally used to have about 36 odd photographs. You shoot the image that you wanted to capture, and you only could know about the results once this roll was developed, right? And these two companies were the market leaders, right? They were making billions of dollars. I think at one point in time, Kodak was making some $10.5 billion in a year. And so digital revolution started happening. And in fact, Kodak, many people don't know, were the first one to have introduced a digital camera. At one point in time, around 2001, they were the leaders in the US market in terms of selling digital camera, right? But the problem was the margin that they had in the business from the films that they were making earlier was pretty high, whereas digital cameras were becoming more and more of a commodity, and the margins were going down, right? In fact, Kodak realized that probably digital cameras is not the way, and they tried to then create photo printers, right? But unfortunately, the company could not sustain, could not, remain cash positive. They started making losses, and they had to kind of, file for bankruptcy. Fujifilm, on the other side, right? They were also in the same business, doing exactly what Kodak was doing. What they did was they first of all listed down what all technology do they have and which are the other industries and areas where such technology can be used, right? So they started manufacturing LED screens, sorry, LCD screens, right? Because the same technology was used for those screens as well. They pivoted towards clinical imaging, right? They started looking at X-rays, for example. How can you get it on a film paper, right? And they were able to completely change the industry where they were. In fact, Fujifilm also launched a cosmetic product range over a period of time, right? And it is still growing, it is still successful, and it is still a well-known company, right? So again, an example. So these three examples which I have spoken about are all different in the manner they disrupted the industry and how they reacted to those changes, right? And that is very important for us, and that is why business models become very important as a subject for product managers. Now, there are more examples. Airbnb, we all know what it is doing and how it disrupted the travel and the hotel business. Southwest is an airlines company like Deccan Airways was to India. They introduced the low cost travel models in the US, no frill airlines, no food service, nothing, right? You just go and you get onto the aircraft at one point, the point of boarding, and get off at the other point. And they were able to become the most successful and profitable business. Gillette, right? We all know they sell their razors at a price, but then they charge a little more, or in fact, they charge a lot more for the blades that they sell, right? So that is their business model. Nespresso following the same thing in the coffee world. And their focus has been to make it convenient for people to make uh, coffee, right? So there are all these companies, and the biggest disruptor of all these companies has been the geo, right? Which we hardly ever talk about. Now think about it. There were all these companies: Vodafone, Idea, Airtel. Uh, I don't know how many, right? At one point in time in India, Jio came in. They started. They introduced a new technology. Their cables and the network was capable to handle much more traffic than any of the existing provider. They brought down the prices, pushed everybody out of it, and that is what we know, right? As a startup, I mean, Geo, I mean, though they had the backing of one of the largest corporate houses in India, but it was a startup. I mean, nobody thought that Airtel, Vodafone can be pushed out of the market the way and in the at the pace which Geo managed to do, right? If you go deeper into Geo strategy, and this is an image that I've taken from Ken, right, which is a publication which researches a lot of businesses and try to give their insights and understanding of what they are trying to do. Now, what Geo is trying to do is something brilliant, right? Nobody has ever thought about, nobody has, you know, even attempted such a big game, right? Now, this image basically talks about the layers that you have in the tech ecosystem, right? You have a technology layer. For example, if you have to build a 5G network, right, you need some core technologies to have that kind of network. Geo has got investment from Qualcomm, and they announced that they would be building 5G network for India. They are a telecom player, right, themselves, right? So they have that layer as well. On top of that, you need devices, right? You need Apple devices, Samsung devices, Xiaomi devices, or different type of devices. Geo is trying to build devices as well with Google, right? And for those devices, they are creating a special OS as well, right? They are using WhatsApp to cater to their retail business. And then on with Microsoft, they announced that all their SMB products they would be hosting and along on the Microsoft Azure platform, and try to position it for Indian market, right? And this is a great disruption that is happening in front of our eyes. And I would say that please follow this and see how they are changing the game, right, completely on its head. Now the question is, right, large companies are there. They have so much of power, so much of money. They have so many people working for them. They are paying these people a lot of money. But still, why are startups able to disrupt such large businesses, right? And when I think about it, there are two primary things or reasons that I feel are behind this. Number one, we are living in this digital era, right? Uh, so for any startup to build an app, a product, a service, and launch it out in the market doesn't require too much of money anymore, right? So you understand a problem, you identify a need, you work out the dynamics and the price points of your service and product, and you can simply roll it out. And if there is a demand, you would become successful. You don't have to have heavy machinery, heavy capital investments, going after the bank to get loans and everything. So economics have changed a lot. But the most important factor is, in my opinion, startups, let's say large enterprises, are what they are because they were able to figure out uh, a need. They were able to build technology to cater to that need, and they were able to figure out how to monetize it to make money out of it, right? And that is why they are where they are, and they have been pretty successful in that, right? Now, Christian and Clayton has spoken about innovators' dilemma, right? And that is what happens. Whereas startups are still struggling to survive, and they are still trying to figure out what is the right business model for them. So they are innovating all the time. They are trying to change their business models. They're trying to learn from other industries as to what business models can be applied to their business so that they can survive, sustain, and probably grow, right? And that is where large enterprises face a big challenge, right? They are not able to adapt or change their business model. They can build the technology, right? They have the people for that. But for them to change the way they are running their business is a bigger challenge, right? And I'll talk about that as well now. Now, so basically what I'm trying to highlight is, for any business to grow and stay relevant in today's world, often it is not about the technology innovation, but a lot to do with business model innovation, right? And that is why this topic is very important, especially for people like us who are responsible for the success of our products. But what is business model, right? I've spoken about, given all this gyan, so many slides. And why I did this was to make sure that we understand why this topic is important. And having understood that, what is a business model, right? So a lot of people say that business model is about how your business makes money. Yes, that is one part of it, but there is much more to it than just making money, right? Uh, so basically, business model is about being able to answer these four primary questions. Number one, who is your customer? What does he look like? What does he do? How much money does he have? What keeps him awake at night, right? What is his motivation? What is that is going to get him the next promotion, right? Maybe. What is that is going to make his life easy, right? What is that is going to make him do things that he really wants to do, right? So you have to have in-depth understanding of your customer. It is not just about where he lives, how old is he, what is his or her gender, right? So beyond that, you need to really have deep understanding of your customers. What are the jobs they want your product to be doing for them, right? Second is, what is your product, right? Why, what value does your product create for your customer? Why does your customer buy your product, right? Then you have to understand how is that value delivered, right? What is the value chain? So for example, let's say a company like, we can take any example, right? Say Apple, right? Now people buy Apple not because just because it has the best technology, right? But also there is a brand, perceived value of the brand that is associated with Apple, the ecosystem that Apple provides you, right? Of all the apps that are available, the safety and security that comes along with the device, right? Nobody can simply deploy and hack into your phones. Uh, the feel good factor. There are so many things, right? And that is the value, and we need to understand what is the value that matters to our customers, right? Whom we are targeting. And importantly, what are your cost? Like when Apple is selling an iPhone, they don't sell it from a normal retail outlet. They will have exclusive partnership, right? Why? Because they want to make sure that the experience that their customers are going to have when they go to an Apple outlet has to be unique. That is how they're, and all these things that Apple does around positioning their products, marketing their products, the way they sell them, the way they service them, the price point that they keep for their product gives customers a feeling of, a premium brand, Apple. And that is a key to them, right? If Apple starts launching a phone which is sub $10,000 rupees, for example, right? They will not be able to hold on to the customers that they target today, right? So it is important in their business model that they maintain their premium position, and they should never play into the mass markets, right? Okay, whereas Android's model and Google's model is completely different. Now, how do we map business models, right? It is good to talk about all these things. So there are good thing is there are a lot of tools available which you can use for your own benefit to understand the business models for your own product, your own company, and also for some of the companies that you might be interested in, right? So the first tool that I would like to introduce is the value proposition canvas, right? So you remember we spoke about the what, the who, the value, the how, right? Now, what we focus on is, first of all, we start our focus on who and what, right? What I mean by that is, first of all, you need to have deep understanding of your customer. And if you focus on the right hand side of this graphic, uh, the circular box, we are talking about, first of all, you should try to list out what are the jobs that your customer does, right? That is the first thing that you have to think about, right? For example, for Apple, my customer could be a pregnant lady. She could be a mother of a youngster. She could be an elderly lady. She could be a working woman, right? There are so many customer segments, and you have to identify who are you targeting with your product, right? So you have to list down those jobs that matter to your customers. Now try to list down all the gains, uh, the perceived gains that your customer has when she is able to do these jobs, right? So she feels satisfaction, she is able to, if she is able to finish it fast, she can go to home and spend more time with the family. And at the same time, think about the pains that she has to go through. Oh, just to do this, just to do, for example, just to do this job, she has to look into 5 different systems for data. That could be a pain, right? She has to call up her colleague every 5 minutes, or she's not able to focus on her work because her colleagues keep on calling her, right? There could be many pains around that. You have to understand those pains. Then on the left hand side, you focus on your product, right? So what is that your product and service going to do with respect to the job that your customer has? Then you list down against the gains that your customer is looking at, right? To derive from whatever job she's performing, what could be the gain creators, the features, the functionalities that you can provide, right? The value that you can provide to your customers. And at the same time, you think about how can you reduce the pain of your customer, right? So once you have understood your customer, once you have understood your product in terms of value that you are creating for your customer, uh, you need to move on to the second canvas, which is called the business model canvas, right? And this is a canvas which is fairly important, and I would be spending a couple of minutes on this for sure. So when you look at this canvas, right? So there are primarily 9 boxes in this canvas, right? Assuming that you have already filled up the value proposition canvas, you would already know couple of you can already fill couple of boxes here. Number one, the value proposition that you're creating with your product for the customer, and you can also list down the customer segments that you're targeting, right? Now then you have to think about what are the channels that will help you reach out to those customers. Now in case of Apple, these are Apple stores, these could be Amazons, these could be Flipkarts through which they reach out to the customer. So you have to think about all the channels that are available to you in the, so that you can reach out to your customers. It could be like Salesforce, right? I need to have people who are going to go out in the market and going to reach out to each one of the customers. So those channels is what you have to list down. Then if you have made the sale, right, what kind of relationship do you have to build with your customer? So for example, some companies make sure that there is a 24/7 support, right? Any customer problems must be resolved within a few hours, right? So what kind of relationship do you have to build? You have to understand that, which is going to matter to your customer, right? Then you have to think about the left hand side where you see, now to provide this value proposition to the customer segment that you are targeting through the channels and by investing in building a kind of relationship that you want, who are the people who are the vendors, the partners that can help you, right? So for example, if you happen to be an Apple, you need a strong ecosystem of developers and companies which are building apps and launching them on your app store, right? Without that, probably you would not be able to provide that value. So you have to think about those key partners that you need and what are the activities that you need to do to make sure that those key partners are are successful. And as a business, what do you need to focus your resources on is another thing that you need to do. That will give you an understanding of, so everything that is there on the left side of the canvas will give you where you have to spend money. And then on the right hand side, building the customers and the customer base is going to tell you how you are going to make money, right? It might look a bit confusing. Once you start doing it, it becomes very intuitive and very clear. And what I did was from the internet, I picked up one of the business model canvases, which was pre-filled for Swiggy. And I believe this will help us understand how it was filled and it is used, right? So now if we look at Swiggy, right, Swiggy's business model, the key value proposition it delivers to the customers is it delivers food with no restriction on, what is the minimum value of order, etc. It allows a efficient payment system. There is no requirement for minimum order. And then the key customers that it is catering to whom they are delivering the value proposition, happen to be the people who do not wish to go out to restaurants, people who do not want to order food online, and and want to get it delivered. So this way you can see, right, the kind of relationship that they need to invest in building is like customer support, social media pages. People are going to post complaints there, so they need to have people who can manage those social medias. The channels for them is the mobile app that they have, the website. People may come from website. People may click on a link which is kind of displayed on Instagram, on Facebook, and they should be able to order, come to the web page of Swiggy and order it from there. Some of the key partners they have are like restaurants, the grocery people, the delivery providers who come to home and deliver the food. The key activities they need to do to make sure these partners are successful and they come to them are like partnership with eateries and retail shops, hiring delivery providers sometimes, right? Maybe they also need to outsource that work, whatever their business model will be, right? The key resources for them is the local restaurants, because that is where Swiggy is not owning any, they don't have any kitchen, right? They for them the key resources are the restaurants who are making that food, right? The delivery providers are very important for them, the technology that they build which is going to help them optimize their supply chain. Now, to do all these things, the major expense side for them is going to be the payroll of employees and the delivery partners, the running cost and the maintenance charges for their application, advertising and marketing cost. On the revenue side, they can charge money from the delivery charges, right? So, for example, initially when this thing was started, everything was free, but now gradually they have started charging money for deliveries, right? They can charge commissions from the restaurateurs, right? They can charge uh, money from the restaurants for the advertisement that they may place for their restaurants in their applications, right? And then they can have multiple other sources of income as well. But the idea is to give you an understanding of how you have to think about the business, right? So when you look at the company that you are working for, the product that you are working for, if you can try to fill it up, you will get a better idea about how your company is making money, how your product is making money. So that's the first step, which is very important. Now the question comes is, this is fine, we have mapped out the business model, but how do we innovate, right? How do we change the business model? And there is a simple way of doing that. Number one, the first step is something that you have already done. You have to map out the firstly the current business model. The second step is very interesting, right? Now you have to evaluate your business model against the existing business models which are there, right? uh, Now, for example, I may challenge Swiggy by saying that, why are you not having your own cloud kitchen, right? Why are you just a delivery provider, right? Swiggy might be having their own strong reasons, I might have my own strong reasons, but I can say that you can create a model and have more money or sources of revenue added to your business by having your own cloud kitchen, right? So that we will talk about how you can map your business model and compare it against. Then based on the new mapped business model, you again uh, fill up your business model canvas. Then you have to try it out in the market and see whether it is working for you and it is impacting some of the key matrices that you have for your business, right? Now, for example, if you look at all these three products, right, what is common between them, right? They have the same business model, though they are catering to different industry, they serve different purpose. They are completely unrelated products, but they have the same business model. Right? Uh, Gillette sells the razor at a low cost, but then they try to make money by selling the blades. Similarly, this is from the Nespresso. They sell their coffee making machines really cheap, but then they charge a lot of money for these coffee bags, right? Then this is HP, which sells printers at a low price, but then try to make money out of the cartridges that they sell. In fact, this is a quote from Professor Oliver Gassman of University of St. Gallen, where he says that 90% of the business model innovations are recombination. So you apply learning from different industries, you apply learning from what has worked in past, and you try to adapt that to your business, right? So you don't have to necessarily all the time uh, uh, reinvent. In fact, there are some 50, 60 odd business models uh, which are the foundations of all the kind of businesses that we see around us, right? So it's not a huge list. It is only 50, 60 of the business models which are there, right? So just to re-emphasize on that, how companies, corporates have tweaked the business models and adapted it for their business, right? Razor and blade, right, was introduced was by an Standard Oil company way back in 1880. It was adopted by Gillette in a completely different industry in 1904. It was picked up by HP. Then it has been picked up by so many companies that we can think about, right? Amazon Kindle, right? What they do is they sell Kindle for cheap, but then they charge money from the content that they sell on the Kindle. Similarly, there is another model which is called freemium model, right? And we see that around us all the time. SurveyMonkey, right? You have a basic subscription which is freely available, but if you want some premium service, you have to pay for it. LinkedIn, you can create your profile, you can keep your profile on LinkedIn, you can connect with people, you can do whatever you feel like. But if you have to do some extensive search or recruitments on LinkedIn, you have to pay for it. Skype, again, similarly, right? There is a corporate version, there is a free end user version. There is another interesting model which is do it yourself, right? Was introduced by McDonald's way back in like 1948 or somewhere sometime around that. It has been adopted across industries over time in different manners by different companies, right? So what I'm trying to highlight is it is not as if one business model is applicable for one industry. It is not as if uh, there is a lifetime for a business model, right? You can always adapt, tweak an existing business model to make it work for your product and your business, right? So try to look into these business model as to what other companies have done and how you can do that, right? Salesforce, for example, right, is a subscription-based product. We see so many subscription-based product all around us nowadays, right? But if you think about the origin of this was from Premier way back, right? Now, when you're evaluating these business model, which is the second step, right? So the first step was you mapped out the business model for the current business model for your product or business. Secondly, you tried to benchmark it or compare it against some of the existing business models which are available. And if you do some Google search, you will find so many resources around these business models, right? And thankfully, there are not too many. After having done that, right, when you are picking up a business model, you have to keep in mind, right, what is going to work, right? If your business, the new business model that you're thinking about is cost intensive, right, it requires heavy investment from your company, probably that will be a barrier for trying it out. So you have to pick up business models which requires low cost investments, less effort, you can quickly try it out. That is going to be an important criteria for you while picking up these business models. And second would be somehow they should create a lock-in for your customers. So for example, if you are able to get a mother onto WhatsApp, right, it will become important for her children to also be on WhatsApp so that she can communicate, right? So it's called a two-sided network effect. If all the companies that you want to apply to happen to be on LinkedIn, you will also end up creating your profile on LinkedIn, right? So that's the lock-in that I am talking about. And it's very important that whichever business model that you think about, you should think about how can you create login. If people can just move around, they can come to you today and they can go somewhere else. For example, if I want to buy a book and I can look for the same book in Flipkart and Amazon, and there is no reason for me to pick Amazon over Flipkart or vice versa, then it is going to be always a uh, price market where whoever prices the product lower is going to win. and this is not good for business, right? So think about lock-in effect, which are also very important. Another example, right? Think about these companies, right? And what is common between them? Uber happens to be the largest global operator of taxis, but they don't own any taxis. What did they focus on? Making their model really, uh, you know, uh, very easy to enter, so that they didn't have any kind of challenges in terms of investment requirements to start with. Alibaba, right? One of the most profitable retailers without any stocks. Most popular media company with no ownership of the content. Largest accommodation provider, but no property, physical location, right? All these companies were successful because they could make sure that when they are disrupting the industry, they didn't require so much of capital, which the bigger, larger players had at that point in time. Now, coming towards the end of the session, and post this, we can take question and answers. Just to summarize what we spoke about in this session. So number one, in the digital age, organizations need to innovate both technology and their business models to stay relevant and grow, right? Without innovating, just innovating on technology is not going to help. There are so many examples where companies were technology leaders. Kodak, in fact, kept on making money from the patents that they had on the innovations that they had done for a long time, even after their kind of, when they started making loss. Second thing, whether you are large, if you're large, you should always be wary of the startups who can come and disrupt your business completely. If you are a startup, you should take heart from the fact that the cost of disrupting is not high, right? So I would say, in fact, startups are at an advantageous position because they can experiment, they are experimenting, they are learning, and they can adapt really fast, right? So being a startup is no longer a disadvantage in today's world, in the digital age. I would highly recommend that any company that you think about, right? Think about their business model. Think about uh, what is the value that they are delivering to their customers? What kind of jobs their customers are getting done from the product or services offered by these companies? How probably would they be making money? Which are the areas probably they would be making, spending money on? What are the key uh, aspects of their entire value chain which can bring their business to a halt? For example, let's say Uber, right? Now think about it. If all the drivers of Uber go on a strike, what happens to the business, right? You would know which are the key relationships that they have to maintain, right? Uh, Regulators, for example, could be another important thing for a company like Uber, right? If there are regulatory changes, if company states or cities start banning them, they will struggle, right? They cannot operate. Fourth important thing, value proposition and business model canvas, the two tools that we spoke about in this session, right? And I'm sure that the time was not enough. Otherwise, we can go much deeper into it, and we can actually fill up a business model canvas, which will give you more insights about how it is done. But they are very efficient tools to understand and innovate your business models. And most importantly, always keep innovating. There is no way out, right? As product managers or whatever profession we are in. So with that, thank you very much. That's my personal email ID, and you can always reach out to me. And over to Shama for any Q&A. Shama.
Yes, thank you so much for delivering such an amazing session, Puneet. Really great insights. And as you can see, we already have questions lined up for you in the Q&A section. But give me a moment here to share my screen.
Sure. Do I need to stop my
No,
sharing?
that's okay. I can do that.
Okay.
Oh, hang on a minute. Just flip there. Okay, so audience, please go ahead and ask your questions in the Zoom Q&A window or on the LinkedIn thread for all the audiences on LinkedIn. So for the first question, this is from Bala Puneet. Future competition no longer occurs between products and processes, but between business models. So, can you please exemplify this?
Very good question, Bala. And I hope, I don't know when did you post this message. I think it was around 8:10, if
Yeah,
I see it
just
correctly,
at the
right?
beginning of the session.
I might have been a kind of answered your question, right? Because it is not just about products and processes. In fact, most of the examples which I took were primarily around how businesses were disrupted or industries were disrupted just by changing the way those services and products were delivered, right? So, for example, if you look at Salesforce, right? Uh, Software wise, what it does, probably Oracle also does the same thing, SAP probably also does the same thing, but the way they are delivering their services has changed, right? And Bala responded this, that I have already answered, so maybe we can move on to the next question, right?
Sure. So the next question is from Shantan. How do you see business innovation and disruption in this era of subscription models and SaaS-based products? Freemium model was one successful disruptor. What next?
See, subscription models already are looked upon as the outdated models, right? Now think about AWS, right? AWS gives you an option to pay based on the consumption that you have, right? Why do I need to have a lock-in? That, for example, let's say in subscription model, what happens is I take a subscription for one user to use Zoom as an example, just as an example, right? Now, even if that user is not using Zoom and rest of the 99 people that I have bought similar subscription for are the ones who are using Zoom, I still have to continue to pay for the user who is not even using Zoom, right? And that is the problem that industry is already talking about. They say that at any given point in time, even if I have taken subscription of 100 users, only 50 users are dialing in or using Zoom. So why shouldn't I be paying for 50 users rather than paying for 100 users, right? And this is where the new pricing models are moving towards, which are called consumption-based pricing. Pay as you consume is another word for that. And I see that is changing really soon, or businesses moving towards that pretty soon.
Sure. Shandan has two more questions, but I think we'll take that at a later point. But let's take this next question from Krishna. Value proposition and unique value proposition gets captured in the same place.
Yes, exactly. I mean, see, unique value proposition is what you deliver as a company to your customers. There could be two or three value propositions that you are delivering, and probably those are the same value proposition that your competitor also delivers to the same set of customers, right? So, unique value proposition is from the perspective of your product, your business, as to what is unique about you over your competitors, right? Uh, so, I mean, I would say unique value proposition is a subset of value propositions, something that is only you can deliver or you deliver to your customers, but other competitors are not able to deliver, and that is your key differentiator in the minds of your customers. But they get captured in the same place. Yes.
Sure. Thank you for that answer, Puneet. So, how about we take this next question from Shantan again? It seems like an interesting one. So, how do you pick your customer segments and metrics when experimenting with new business models? If you're adapting from others, that is recombinations.
Recombinations.
Yes. What are challenges in picking your customer segments?
So customer challenge is customer segment, trust me, Shantam, it's one of the most trickiest aspect of product management, right? And why I say this is, right, traditionally, we used to pick segments based on demographics, right? How old they are, whether they are millennial, they are baby boomers, they are elderlies. We used to pick our segments based on, where do they live, what do they do, what their character psychographics is like, demographics is like, and it was pretty straightforward. And fortunately or unfortunately, that is where the data is available as well, right? You can find out how many millions are there, how many of them are using Zoom, for example, right? But industry has realized that that is not the right way of segmenting your customers, because Same lady, right? Let's say you are a retail outlet and you are trying to design your product for a working lady who also happens to be a mother, right? Now she will have multiple type of jobs to be done when she thinks about a retail outlet where she can purchase grocery. One of the jobs she has to do is like she has to stock up her kitchen or inventory with everything that she is going to consume over next few weeks. That is one kind of jobs. And for to fulfill this kind of job, she need wide array or choices of the products that she can pick, right? So she would prefer probably going to a supermarket where she has multiple things available at one place and she can go around the entire supermarket, spend an hour and pick up things that she wants, right? On because she has to do it only once in multiple weeks probably. Now, another kind of job the same lady has to do could be that her daughter on one fine day calls her up and says that, Mama, few of my friends are coming home, right? And I want to treat them with pizza. She suddenly realizes that the ingredients needed for pizza are not there at home, right? Now, this is a completely different job that she has to do than her weekly grocery shopping. Now, what she needs is speed. She wants to go to a nearby store, pick up everything that she needs, doesn't want to stand in the queue for checkout, doesn't want to have the hassle of parking her car and finding a parking lot for her car, right? She just want to get it done really fast. Now, this is the new way of segmenting your customer, right? And what businesses have started doing is focusing on the jobs that your customer and segments of customers want to get done, and thinking about products and features and functionalities and value that you create through those features and functionalities on the lines of jobs to be done, right? And the challenges with this kind of way of segmenting your customer, like you asked me, is availability of data. You are creating these segments yourself for your business, so the data that is available for these segments is going to be very difficult to acquire, and you might have to invest efforts in building this data ground up. So that's what I see as a key challenge, or something that we have to still figure out. I
Right.
hope that
Some
was clear, Shanta.
Yes, I hope Shantan, the question is answered. And other questions, I'm sure you can connect with Puneet over LinkedIn and he can answer that for you. Moving on, the next question, let's take it from Melby.
Mhm.
Considering the various business models and picking up a model or a combination that is suitable for the company or product, we would want to ensure low entry barrier and encourage customer lock-in at a suitable price point or package. How do we identify these pricing points to generate revenue, profitability, and provide a win win pricing proposition?
Very interesting, right? Nobody wants to pay more than what they see value being derived from what they are consuming, right? So let's say if you want to buy a pack of milk, and the value that you know there is an offering that is available in a market at a particular price point, and you believe that you should be getting it at, let's say, 50 rupees or something, right? Suddenly a new product is launched and they ask you to pay 100 rupees for the same product without any value addition. Why would you do that, right? So when you talk about pricing your products, the first thing that you have to always think about is what is the value that you are creating. Now, value could be high of a milk product. You can say that, okay, it is going to keep you away from the doctor, and it is going to bring down your cost that you might spend on going to a doctor, spending in your treatment and everything, right? High value, let's say. The second thing that you have to look at is the competition. What is a similar product from the competition priced at? What is the price point they are looking at, right? Because even if you creating great value, if your competition is offering the same value at a lower price point, you cannot outprice your own product, right? So these are and third thing that you have to look at is your own cost, right? Your competitor, for example, let's say Geo, which I also spoke about, Geo, Vodafone, Airtel, right? Geo is able to keep the cost low because their cost structures are optimized because they are using the latest technology, whereas Airtel's or Vodafone's networks were laid a couple of decades ago, right? So they are able to cater to higher volume of data, higher number of customers on their network, with the same cost. So their cost structures are lower. So they are able to offer lower price. A competitor like Airtel and Vodafone might struggle doing the same thing, right? So these are three elements. Number one, your value proposition to the customer, how comparative prices products are priced in the market from your competitors, and third, what your own cost structures are, which will help you determine what is the right price point for your product and how you win that market.
Thank you for that, Puneet. And there are a lot of curious minds here in the audience tonight, and we are loving the interaction, guys. But I hope, Puneet, you have a few more minutes for us. We'll take a few more questions. Is that okay?
Sure, Shama. I mean, the questions are interesting and they are keeping me hooked as well.
All right. So next question is from Amol. What business model innovation you would suggest when the product or service is a commodity kind of situation? Or you could give some examples as well.
Okay, so let me first of all, for the benefit of other people, explain what
Mhm.
commodity business is like, right? When the difference between products is minimal, and the only way for you to win uh, the market is by fighting on the price, right? So, for example, if there are two products, they have equal brand value perception. What they offer is the same hardware, same software, everything that you can think about. Or even if it is not a digital product, whatever they offer is the same thing. Now, what is going to drive the choice of a consumer? It is going to be the price, right? In that case. Now, if that is the case, and that is the market that we are talking about, right? Then the only lever that you can think about is how do you reduce your cost of operations, right? So, for example, let's say you, the price point at which your competitor is selling the product and the same product you are selling at is, let's say, at 10 rupees, right? Now, if your cost of producing that service or product is 9 rupees and your margins are really thin, only 1 rupee margin is what you are struggling operating at, your customer, if they are able to raise some funds or do something, they probably would to just push you out of the market. What they will do is temporarily they will reduce the price of their service or product to 8 rupees and you will be out of the market, right? Now, to stay competitive and still win the market, the same strategy can be applied by you if you can bring down the cost from 9 rupees to 7 rupees, let's say, right? So that is one area where you will have to think, you will have to look at the entire value stream of your business and see where are the areas that you can optimize and reduce the cost of operations for you, right? Some people try to reduce the headcount, some people try to reduce the extra cost, right? For example, they will have restrictions on travel, they will stop the marketing events. There are many things that people try to do to bring down their cost in such markets, right? So you have to see what works for you, and if you can find some innovative ways there to bring it down, that might help you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the question, Amol, and thank you for your great insights, Puneet. So we'll take this next question from Bharat. Where do you see Indian startup in the global market in the next 5 years? And also, there's a follow-up question: Are startup culture and product-based innovations going to change CXO positions in future?
I don't know about the CXO positions and what exactly is meant by that question. Our startup culture and product-based innovation going to change the CXO position. So I don't know if you mean that more emphasis will be on hiring people with product management background. Is that what you mean? I am not sure if I got that question correctly, right? Because there will be a CEO all the time, always, be it today, be it in future. There will be a CFO who is required to manage your finances. There will be a marketing guy. There would be an engineering guy. I mean, there would be all kind of roles. But particularly here, I could not understand that question. Sorry, Bharat. Maybe you can elaborate on that. Now, on the first question, right, where do you see Indian startup in the global market? See, the penetration of digital technologies in India is still limited, right? When we talk about Amazons and Flipkarts of the world, it's still about less, single digit population, Indian population is using their services. Now, scope of expansion for all these guys in a country like India is just tremendous, right? Uh, the problem has been that Indian venture capital ecosystem hasn't been nurtured. So what happens is even if you have a homegrown startup like Paytm, the money they are running on ends up being the foreign money. So most of the startups you will see, the real ownership of those startups lies with a foreign entity, and the reason is Indian angel investing ecosystem, Indian venture funding ecosystem still has to evolve, and it has to grow really big, right? And that is what I would say. Opportunities for Indian startups is just there is no. I mean, you cannot even imagine the kind of opportunities that are there, and especially with all this focus towards Atmanirbhar Bharat, vocal for local, right? So there is a lot of uh, interest in Indian startups. So people want to invest in Indian startup because India is one of those markets which are still growing and which will continue to grow, right? The penetration levels are really low. So yeah, very positive outlook towards Indian startup. Uh,
Absolutely. Right. So, in view of time constraints, we'll take this one last question, Puneet.
yeah.
This from Amit Kapoor. How do you see Google business model as compared to Apple business model for value creation versus cost effectiveness, specifically in respect of India and China market?
Very interesting, right? I mean, when Apple was there, Android was launched later, right? I believe it was Android was launched sometime in year 2003, 4, around that time. I don't remember exactly, but and people thought that Google is going to disrupt it and Apple will be out of business, right? But that hasn't happened. Uh, at the same time, I mean, there was so many news that there is nothing great about Apple hardware. It is just like one of the hardware that is available on Android phones. See the problem. See, try to understand what is Google's business model. The core to Google's business model is data, right? They say that if we know about your behaviors, if we know what you like, what you are likely to buy, we can probably use this information to shape your behavior in a manner that could be very beneficial for the business who is going to pay us the money for that data, right? What Apple says is we don't want to know the behaviors of everyone. We want to know the behaviors of only people who can pay and spend money, right? As simple as that. They say that we are going to be the premium phone, even if our hardware lacks to some degree with respect to the other hardwares available in the market. But what we want to maintain is the premium position, and our brand is going to be associated with luxury, right? And that is what their business model is, right? And they will have the best of the security, best of the screens, the cameras, whatever they can at this price point. But they want to be always priced at a premium. Now, India and Chinese market, right? Android is not making that much of money, the kind of money that Apple is making with iOS or the Apple ecosystem, right? Uh, so people may continue to adopt uh, Android phones because that is going to continue to stay cheaper, and Apple is never going to come down to the price point that be to compete with some of the cheap, or let's say lowly priced Android phones, because that is not going to be good for them. So I think people will use Google is finding ways to monetize it. So I mean, you might have heard about it recently, right? It was in news that Paytm wants to create Paytm, and some of the Indian startups want to have their own Play Store, right? Where people would be allowed to come and download to avoid paying subscription, or let's say what, commissions to Google, because Google and Apple also charges 30% of the revenue any app gets, which is listed on the App Store or the Play Store, right? So to avoid that, Paytm and several other startups were trying to do that, right? Now, Google earlier was not monetizing their Play Store, right? But now they are trying to monetize it. That is another way of making money from their Android ecosystem. So Google is still figuring out, and I think they will have to find out a right manner But I believe it will be two different markets for two different customer segments completely, and there is not going to be any overlap between them. I hope, Amit, that answers your question. I'm not sure, but
Beautifully
in case
answered, Puneet, definitely.
perfect.
Right. So given the limited time, audience, we'll have to end the Q&A here. Thanks for the participation. For any further questions, you can connect with Puneet over LinkedIn or the email ID that he has provided.
Absolutely.
Right. So, Puneet, we have enjoyed having you with us tonight, and it's been a complete pleasure. So please accept the certificate of appreciation from the Institute. Now, if you scan the QR code on the certificate, it will take you to a dedicated Hall of Fame page we have created for you, and you can see the recording of this session.
Okay.
Please share it within your network, and we will do the same, and we'll share it on our YouTube channel.
Perfect. I'll try to do that. Thanks for having me and giving me the opportunity to interact with such engaging participants. It was really fun. I enjoyed my interaction, and I hope everybody who participated was able to take something out of this session. Thank you very much,
Absolutely,
Shama.
Puneet. We are grateful for the time and effort you took to share your thoughts and amazing insights drawn from your years of experience in the industry. And I'm certain that our audience will definitely benefit from the methods you suggested and get ahead in their careers. Thank you
Thank you.
once again for joining us.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
And audience, thank you for joining in. It was great interacting with you all. So do not forget to register for our upcoming sessions. And with that note, I end tonight's session. Happy learning and stay skilled. Have a great night.